Tariffs are being removed to 50-year mortgage plan that is being considered that gives birth to memes. We have not been talking about what's going on with the economy globally, but these recent events have been intriguing enough that I felt compelled to talk about it. I mean, ever since Trump said to impose tariffs back on China, markets have been dropping and never look back. I mean, just look at this, guys. And despite all the good news that Trump had posted on the social media, like disbursing of $2,000 starting 2026, de-risking had surely started since then, and the most speculative market, the crypto market especially, had seen the most bloodbath so far. But let's not get too far. As for today's video, we will talk about tariffs, inflation, grocery prices, and mortgages. With that said, I'm Daddy, and this is That Money Compass. So, these topics have been dominating the US headlines, and at first glance, these seem like totally separate stories. But when you look at it closely, they are all potentially connected, and they are all pointing to one big theme. America is wrestling with affordability at the grocery store, at the gas station, and especially in housing. Let's try to break everything down, shall we? So when Trump returned to office, he ramped up tariffs aggressively using emergency powers under national security justification. You get tariff, everybody gets tariffs, right? Now, the tariffs surely have been bringing revenue. I mean, a lot of revenue, tens of billions. So Trump has repeatedly said tariffs are good and that they bring money and investment back into the US. There's no doubt about that, as there have been reports on this for the past few months. But here's where things get complicated. The court stepped in. Yes, a major legal challenge argues these tariffs may not have been justified under the law, and if the Supreme Court rules against them, the government might have to refund 70 to more than $100 billion in collected tariffs. And this is not a small sum. So Trump himself acknowledged that a forced refund would be disastrous for the economy. Yes, he actually acknowledged it. And honestly, he's probably right. Why? Because that's a staggering amount of money to suddenly pay back. Obviously, it is disastrous to the US economy, right? But here is the thing. When this whole thing is going on and Trump said that, I suddenly realized something. Could it be that all of these were planned from the very beginning? Did he know that there is a chance that this matter may be brought up in court? And if so, did he know that the court would probably still allow the tariffs to continue because the court can't afford to order a refund because the sum is just too huge, right? Are all of these within the calculation? Hence, Trump ordered an almost immediate tariffs implementation? Of course, these are all just possibilities, right? Speculations. But considering Trump is a businessman and his aides are smart people, then aren't all of these actually a great play then? Now, I know that things may be good in the short term, but may be bad in the long term as well, like after 5 years, right? But still, after seeing this point of view, don't you start wondering as well? Basically, if he knew refunds were unrealistic, then tariffs becomes a political and financial tool he can use flexibly, right? I mean, no wonder he loves tariffs so much, right? But this brings us to the next one, which is inflation. We know that for months, Trump's team insisted inflation was not a concern and tariffs weren't causing price increases. But then something unexpected happened. Trump signed an executive order removing tariffs on beef, coffee, fruits, and several other everyday items, specifically to lower grocery costs. Why? Because prices were surging. Beef prices were up around 13 to 17% year on year. Coffee prices were up nearly 19%. These are not small changes. These are sensitive household items Americans buy every week. Even if tariffs weren't the only cause, things like supply chain issues, fuel costs, and global markets also matter. But did the administration see tariffs as a potential contributing factor worth reversing? Did they decide to quickly remove the tariffs before the data show up? Such reversal is typically not Trump's usual action, but in this case, the narrative could be that Mr. President is just trying to lower the grocery prices. After all, recently there's been news that the October CPI data may not even come out, right? So some people believe this was reactive, trying to prevent bad inflation data. Others think that he was being strategic, removing pressure points before public frustration grew. Either way, the message is the same. Inflation became politically dangerous, especially when groceries spiked. Yes, you don't want to deal with the people who voted for you because they put their trust in you. And once grocery inflation hits, everything else follows, right? And this may not bode well for Trump's reputation after all. But things got even more serious than that. Inflation doesn't stay confined to food. When basic necessities get more expensive, households spend less money or have less money for everything else, right? Including rent and mortgages. That's right, rent and mortgages, guys. So this means housing. The US housing market already had deeper issues brewing long before tariffs or inflation. Soaring prices everywhere, more sellers than buyers. So why did housing prices explode so fast then? Ultra low interest rates came during the period of 2020 to 2021. Mortgage rates hit 2 to 3%, the lowest in modern history. This instantly increased buying power, causing bidding wars across the country. Then there's another thing, more than 10 years of underbuilding. After the 2008 crash, apparently home builders slowed dramatically. By 2020, America was short of 3 to 5 million homes. What about work from home migration then? Millions relocated from expensive cities to cheaper states, pushing up prices in places like Idaho, Utah, Arizona, and Florida, where prices rose 40 to 60% in about 2 years. And this happened within a short period of time, if I'm not mistaken, like during the COVID period, which is like within that couple of years. So then, there are investors buying aggressively as well. Now remember guys, rich people have money and they don't like their money parking, idling, doing nothing. And housing, after all, is still one of the assets, right? So when interest rate is very low, investors can just buy them aggressively. So institutional funds and small Airbnb investors bought huge numbers of homes, or even other investors with a lot of money, they can just buy a lot of homes, right? I believe you guys also see it in Singapore as well, right? Despite the skyrocketing prices, people are still buying condo like there's no tomorrow, even though the economy is not doing good, right? So yeah, same logic over here. There's no need to doubt about this, because when opportunities present themselves, they will need to make their money work, and that's just one of them. So then, high construction costs. Simple. Supply demand, right? Lumber had some point skyrocketed 300%. Labor shortages drove up building costs as well. Remember the news about the illegal immigrants have to be deported? Yeah, based on the news, a lot of them contribute to the shortages of labor as well. So new homes became expensive, dragging up the entire market. Putting all of this together, and housing prices shot up faster than incomes could keep up. But daddy, we have the rate cuts, right? What's going on then? Well, mortgage rates did come down a bit recently, that's for sure, but real killer is still the home price level itself. After all, if it is the price that will determine if a house is affordable or not, right? Basically, it's the same thing in Singapore. The price kept on going up, but our inflation rate, has actually come down already, correct? Nobody still care about it, right? So yeah, in the end, if the house pricing is still up there, nobody's going to buy it. And sellers can be quite stubborn in holding their selling price as well. So yes, high rates made things worse. People borrow higher and pay higher, but even after cuts, homes are still too expensive for many to buy. After all, even things as simple as your dishes that have been raised in price hasn't come down, even though the inflation rate has. Yeah, I'm serious about it, because I often eat the same food again and again, so I kind of know the pricing. But anyway, this leads to the next major development. Because affordability is collapsing, policymakers started discussing something many people treated as a meme, which is a 50-year mortgage. And then a 100-year mortgage. Okay, that was just kidding, but they did consider a 50-year mortgage. That's right, folks. People have been talking about how you're going to pay until you're old or your lifetime even, paying more than you need because of the compounding interest. Beautiful, right? Please, that's just sarcasm. Please don't take my word in. Seriously. Anyway, let's take a calculation example. Okay, for this one, I actually had to take note. Let me read it out. So for example, let's say we have a $400,000 in loan at 6.5%, let's say. A 30-year mortgage is about $2,528 per month. Alright? A 50-year mortgage is about $2,255 per month. Beautiful. You pay less per month. Nice, right? But here's the catch. The total interest for a 30-year mortgage is about $510,000, but for a 50-year mortgage, it's nearly $953,000. So another example, a $328,000 loan at 6.3% would gain $349,000 in extra interest if stretched to 50 years. Alright, so a 50-year mortgage lowers monthly pain but massively increases lifetime costs. The fact that this is even being discussed tells us something over here. Houses are too expensive. That's why they have to stretch the mortgage so that you pay lower monthly. Yeah, temporarily nice thing, but for those people who know how to calculate and really mind the big amount, yeah, that's not good. Second thing, wages haven't kept up. Now this, for the longest time, this is just a personal opinion, even in Singapore, I don't believe all these median salary kind of data that has been published out, because I always feel that it's not right, it's not correct. And yeah, apparently it's also somewhat true out there, outside of Singapore, wages haven't kept up. It's a global thing, I guess. And thirdly is that traditional lending structures no longer work for the average American, apparently. So not only this is all part of the same affordability crisis, there's also something really broken in the system, right? Otherwise, it feels as if like the root cause wasn't solved. They just try to, find a way to lower the mortgage per month so that you guys will not complain, right? I mean, we are normies after all, you and me, right? So yeah, that's how it feels like to me. Now, from the outside, it can feel like the policies only help those in power. But reputation matters after all, so scandals like the Epstein fallout show how quickly public sentiment can turn hostile. So we are watching a balancing act over here. Yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to touch on Epstein stuff. You can watch all the other YouTubers out there. There are a lot of YouTubers out there who have been touching on Epstein stuff, so I'm not going to go deep into that. But there is a balancing act after all, right? Tariffs for strategy, rollbacks for inflation control, rate cuts to calm markets, new mortgage frameworks to ease affordability, and economic maneuvers tied to Trump's campaign promises. Because guys, this is one thing that I also kind of observe. Trump tends to fulfill whatever he promised during his campaign period. Yeah, but this is just an observation. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Put them under the comment down below. Alright, so the real question is, can this administration reduce America's debt without causing financial instability? That's right, guys. The America's debt has been in the spotlight lately due to how huge it is, right? And the administration, as well as the Mr. President himself, has been saying that America's debt can be paid off, will be paid off using tariffs whatsoever in one way or another. So let's see. Because tariffs, inflation management, and housing pressures all tie into that, and people have been flagging out that reducing America's debt is probably the biggest challenge. That's right, here, and how tariffs alone may not be enough. Yes, especially during this first year so far, probably everybody is kind of doubting it, especially when they plan to provide $2,000 dividends starting 2026. Although there's a probability that it may be in the form of tax reduction instead, which I personally think is much better, right? Because at least the sum can be used for something else. But of course, less tax, less income for the government, right? For the whole country, right? So I don't know, I'm not an economist. Let's see. That's what I can say. Let's just monitor together, shall we? Lastly, let's talk about the markets. Markets have been very nervous. I mean, very, very nervous, to the point that Michael Burry is like, he just got up from his grave. Suddenly he became very active on X. So this happens after Trump mentioned tariffs on China. If you trace the chart together with the event, the very first drop, it happens to coincide with the moment when Trump mentioned tariffs on China, and then market sold off sharply and never came back until today. So even positive news afterwards didn't help much, because inflation fears increased, doubts about rate cuts return. That's right, there's still doubt about the December rate cut. Although recently there's this unemployment rate data came out that apparently it ticked up a little bit by about 0.1% if I'm not mistaken. So there may still be a rate cut. After all, Besant has been calling it out as well. And thirdly, risk off is sentiment dominated. This is very obvious, especially in the crypto market. You can see that not just meme coins, not just altcoins, even the blue chip coins as well, they are wrecked. So that's why markets have been red recently, not because of one policy, but because of all of these signals and uncertainties that happen so fast all together. Alright, I gotta say, my guys, there's a reason why I've not been making videos for quite some time, because to me, I feel like on the bigger picture, the narrative has always been the same, right? It's always about Trump and the administration and whatever actions they do, right? And it's always revolving around this: the economy, the inflation, the tariffs, and whatever it is, right? And because of that, the market has been very, very volatile. It can just jump up 20% in one day and then drop 25% in another, like within the same day. You won't even know. So I hope that you guys, kind of surviving this period. I hope you guys are not trading with leverage. That's a very bad idea currently, unless you really know how to do it. But I'm not a trader, so I'm not gonna go deep into that. But for investors, I actually think this could be a very golden opportunity for you guys to go in, depending on the market situation, right? I believe if you guys know how to invest, you guys will probably agree with me as well. So with that, let's wrap everything up. Tariffs are under legal threat and could trigger enormous refund risks. Grocery inflation forced the administration to roll back food tariffs. Housing remains painfully unaffordable due to the decade of structural issues. Even with rate cuts, buyers remain discouraged because prices are still too high. And 50-year mortgages signal how serious affordability has become. And overall, the economy is navigating a very delicate balance between strategy, politics, and reality. Whether this is part of a long-term plan or reactive decision-making, we'll only know with time. After all, it is only his first year. With that, I would like to thank you all who watched this video until the end. If you like this video, do consider leaving a like and subscribe to this channel. See you guys on the next one. Bye bye.